Hey everyone, Tofu here, and welcome to a behind-the-scenes video that I have been wanting to make for a while now. This is the behind-the-scenes of the Penguinronpa Chapter 5 Execution. I don't quite know exactly how I'm going to be editing this video yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to start this video by showing you the storyboard of the Chapter 5 Execution. So hopefully you have already seen that, so you now have the context of that, because I'm gonna kind of go through the execution and talk about what went into making it, and so I'm probably going to be referring to that storyboard a little bit throughout. So before we actually get started here, there's a couple things I want to say. First of all, just as sort of a general Penguinronpa update to anyone who doesn't really keep up with anything that I say outside of YouTube. I'm working on Chapter 6, it's still happening. Just because I'm not uploading any Penguinronpa videos, it doesn't mean I'm not working on it, okay? I've been working on it the past couple weeks, pretty much non-stop. I recently finished writing this massive outline for the chapter, which details everything that happens in it in very specific detail, just so it's easier for me to look back at when I get to actually writing the script, which is just all the dialogue for the chapter. And that's actually what I'm going to be working on next. So that's the next phase of the process. That outline is huge, by the way. It's over 70 pages long, and it took me like over a month and a half, if not more than that. So again, just because I may happen to be posting other videos on my channel here that are not related to Penguinronpa, it does not mean I have given up on Penguinronpa and that I'm not working on it in the background, because I am. Sometimes I just like to do other things and take a little break. I've gotten a lot of comments on completely unrelated videos asking where Penguinronpa is, and I appreciate the enthusiasm and the support and the love for this series. I'm very, very grateful for it. But I am going to have to ask you to please try to not do that on videos that have nothing to do with Penguinronpa. It's a little discouraging. This video is a Penguinronpa video, so you can ask about it here if you want, even though I just told you that I'm still working on it. But yeah, the only other thing I really want to say before we get started here is that this is probably going to be a very long and rambly video, because I tend to ramble about things. I don't really have a script or a list of things that I want to mention about this execution. I don't have anything prepared. This is not going to be a pre-made organized video. I'm just going to watch the execution, sort of go frame by frame, and just sort of talk about whatever comes to mind about the process that went into this, because there's a lot to talk about. So you're just going to get my natural commentary, and it might be a little bit rambly, which might not be the most entertaining. So if you don't want to just hear me talk like an idiot for like 30 minutes or potentially longer, the storyboard might be the most entertaining part of this for you, and you might just want to click off now. But if you want to hear me ramble, here we go, I guess. So let's actually get started here, and actually play the video. I'm just watching this on my own channel. That's just how I'm recording this. So let's get started, and immediately pause. I'm gonna be pausing a lot throughout this, just to talk about things on screen, because believe it or not, I have a lot to say about this thin ice screen here right at the start. So what was sort of weird about the thin ice screen is that I hadn't done a thin ice intro to an execution in about 2 years since or when I was working on this, because the last time I had done it was for the Chapter 3 execution. I didn't do one for Chapter 4 because that technically wasn't a real execution, so I didn't think it should have one. And the Chapter 3 execution, I made that in June 2020, and this execution, I started working on it in like March 2022. So it had been almost 2 years since I had actually done a thin ice intro to one of the executions. And in that time, my sort of standards for quality had gone up a little bit. I wanted the series to be a bit more polished. And the old thin ice opening for the first 3 executions was just like the screenshot from the original Club Penguin that I just sort of just took from Club Penguin Wiki, and it was not like changed at all to like fit the 16:9 aspect ratio that the rest of Penguinronpa is in. Like, if you look at it, it's got like these black bars on the side. It's cropped off because that's how it looked in the original game. So when it came to doing the intro again for this chapter, I was like, this looks ugly, like this is just unacceptable to show in this state. So I had to edit the screenshot a bit. So unfortunately, I don't believe you can see my mouse on screen, but the little outline of the arcade cabinet, I went over that to make it look more complete, because it was cropped off on the sides. I drew those lines on the side to actually make the outline of the cabinet, and I did the background of the actual wall of the Dance Lounge arcade, even though we're not actually in the Dance Lounge. That's just where the thin ice arcade cabinet is, so I wanted the wall. I just edited the screenshot very slightly to make it look slightly higher quality, mainly just to fit the aspect ratio. That was a big pet peeve of mine. I thought it looked really bad and unprofessional. Even though this shot is only on screen for like, what, 10 seconds? So did it really matter? No, but it was bothering me, so I had to fix it. So let's keep going on here before I ramble even more, even though I'm going to pause again, because this execution had the potential to be the final execution, because everyone is getting executed here except for Sam. I think most people sort of figured out, like, they're obviously not all gonna die here. That would be stupid and bad writing. But the threat was still there, so I still wanted to sort of go all out with the opening for this execution, just to sort of, keep the appeal, not the appeal, effect, I guess there's probably a better word than I'm trying to think of, but I can't remember, but, like, just sort of the effect that, like, there is still this potential danger that this could go horribly wrong. So I wanted to start with just Sam on screen to be like, Shadow Guy won the killing game, because I thought it was really funny to, like, rub in the fact that Sam was, like, this winner, the winner of the killing game, just for irony purposes, because he obviously ends up dying in this execution. I don't know, I just thought it was really funny to be like, Sam's the winner. That's, like, one of the CGs of him, the CG of him, like, in the cell before everyone's about to get execution is called winnerboy.png. I just thought it was fucking hysterical, but no one else does. It's shit I think is funny, so I do it. I also like the idea of giving him a little crown above here to show that he won. It's also slightly a reference to the end of Conker's Bad Fur Day. It's sort of a vague spoiler for the end of that game, is that Conker ends the game technically as a winner. He's got a crown on his head, literally, but he's not too happy about the fact that he has won in this way. And Sam sort of feels a similar way. So I liked that sort of parallel, or that parody. I don't know. It's just a pixelated crown. It was just a subtle little influence, but I thought it was a nice detail. And then we, of course, have all the other penguins here as well, and the Puffles. This was, this chapter was actually the first time I made pixel sprites for all the other penguins as well. Well, not all of them. Before, just the killers had them. So Sensei, Paige, and Rory, I believe, well, and Agent 2, because of the failed execution simulation in Chapter 3. They already had one at this point as well. But none of the other penguins had them. So I had to make some for all the other survivors as well, which included the Puffles. And I remember it was quite the challenge to figure out how to make pixelized Puffles, because Puffles sizes compared to penguins are pretty inconsistent, not just in Penguinronpa, but in actual Club Penguin as well. But they're obviously much smaller than them, and it was hard because, like, if the more small I went with these sprites, like, the more limited I would be, because, like, their size could only be this big based on the existing pixel sprites. So it was sort of hard to make, like, a base Puffle pixel sprite. And then on top of that, I had to give them all their unique little hats, and just other features as well. Pops is the most strange. I mean, her glasses are obviously supposed to be stars, but it's really hard to make stars with such a limited amount of pixels. So that was sort of the best I could do there. But I like the idea of having this group shot of all the penguins here about to be executed at the start. And then we have Protobot's pixel head. And if you saw in the storyboard, which you should have because it was at the beginning of this video, in the storyboard I had Protobot's head spinning, and I just wanted to do that because I was like, oh yeah, like I've gotten so good at pixel art, so good at animation. I'm just gonna flex all my talent here in this opening shot of the execution, just to show everyone, like, this is a huge project. This is an amazing piece of work. Like, it's gonna be awesome. And then I actually started working on the execution, and the setting up, like, all the pixel sprites in this beginning already had like already been taking me like a full day. So I did this one sprite of Protobot's head, and I was like, I'm done. I'm not doing the fucking spin. That is so meaningless and pointless. It is a bit sad because I thought it was very funny. Just seeing his head fucking rotate is just fucking comical to me. And it just sort of had this energy of, like, he's just fucking having fun, dude. Like, he's killing everyone. He's having a good time. Like, he's enjoying himself here. And I think, I don't know, a little bit of charm might be lost here with just the head. But it was ultimately a meaningless gag, and I had to cut it. You can also sort of see here the silhouettes of the penguins in his head as well. Very slightly, there's just these 5 little bumps inside of him. So that's a cool little thing. And let's get to the actual execution now. That's obviously just a reused CG. in the storyboard, I had started to draw this again, and I was just like, wait, why am I drawing this like for the storyboard? Like, just reuse the CG. Like, just work smarter, not harder. That's just sort of the thing to live by when it comes to making these big projects. It just work smarter, not harder. Cut corners if you can. You can put as much passion and love into things as you want, but you know, you'll get to a point where it's like you gotta let yourself have a little bit easier of a time here. And I also reused this CG as well. This was the Winter Boy CG, but I did edit it a bit because you see Sam's pupils actually move up, and Protobot's shadow sort of flies over him. And then this shot, fucking Protobot just going into the portal. You see these sort of, like, I don't know, ripples in the portal, sort of like, how many, there's only, like, actually, like, 2 or 3 frames of that. These sort of, like, ripples that sort of, like, start to, like, you know, cover up Protobot's body. I originally wanted to animate all of those, and I wanted to do, like, a bunch of individual little ripples and have them go completely through the portal, but that was taking a long time. So I was like, you know what, let's just have him fade into the portal. And that's just how we'll show he went through the portal. And that's kind of like the first instance of me using like fade effects to cheat at animation. I didn't do it a lot in some of the other executions and animations that I've done, but I definitely used it a lot in this one. Just because I was running low on time, and I didn't want people to wait so long for this, and it's ultimately something that, yes, it looks a bit slightly jarring, but it gets the point across just as well, you know, so it was something I was fine with doing, and this shot. So, this background, let's see, this background is on from 2:40:55 to 2:57. It's on screen for 2 seconds, and I spent probably about 4 hours making this background, just sketching it out, planning where everything would go, and all that stuff, and then actually drawing it and shading it and adding all the detail. It took about 4 to 5 hours just to make this background. That's not even talking about drawing Protobot here and animating him coming out of the portal. Also, a little cheat there. Protobot can definitely, like, not fit through that portal, but I just sort of show him, like, already out of it and just landing from it. I don't know, it's funny. But yeah, this background just took me an absurd amount of time only for it to appear on screen for 2 seconds. Now, of course, like, the buildings in the background and the actual, like, sky in the background, I ended up reusing that a lot, which was very nice. But these assets specifically that are in the foreground here, these are only on screen here. They're redrawn in from like different perspectives later, but these specific shots of them, this is only on screen for 2 seconds, and it took me like 4 hours to do. But let's talk about the actual location of this place here. This, as you can see by the sign, this is Metro Penguinronpa, which is the fictional city in which the actual play of Squidzoid vs. Shadowgun Gamegao takes place on. So this sort of city is sort of inspired by the actual, like, play sets that were at the stage whenever Shadowgun Gamegao was actually playing at the stage. Like, a lot of these buildings are like directly, like, just, you know, modeled after the buildings from that. There's like this pond area in one of the sets with these cutout trees that are also there. This sign on the right here was also in one of the sets, and it didn't have actual text on it. It just had a speech bubble with like scribbles on it. So I was like thinking of like what kind of a joke I could make this penguin say, and I do like the one I ended up going with, where it's just, buy our sauce, it's as hot as capitalism. Just the thought of this fucking, like, pogging penguin just saying the word capitalism was funny to me. But that sign actually, originally, it said something else, and it's something that, like, I'm still unsure if I should have cut it or not, because it was really funny. Originally, it said something along the lines of, why do they call it hot sauce when you hot sauce the cold sauce out of hot eat the sauce? Which is just referring to that one dumb Garfield meme. I just thought it would be really funny if I replaced the word oven with hot sauce for most of it. I ended up cutting it just because I wasn't sure if the joke would land, even if anyone actually paused it and looked at it. Because not many people actually paused and pointed out this joke. A couple people did, but not that many. But I wasn't sure like how well spread that one Garfield meme is. I know it's very popular, and I've seen it everywhere a bunch of times. But also, like, every time I've seen it, I've seen people like quote retweet it and be like, "What? Like, is this a real comic strip?" Like, people still find that joke for the first time, and it's like, I don't know if the joke would exactly land there. So I changed it to something a bit more simple, and also it was also a lot of text. So it was kind of very squished in that little speech bubble. So it might have gotten pretty pixelated when it came to actually exporting all this stuff. So I decided to go for a bit of a smaller, simpler gag, and that's what I ended up going with. Also on the Metro Penguinrontropolis sign this is a fake city. No one lives here. And I just sort of wanted to put that note there just in case someone was like, whoa, like, did we just travel to like a crazy new dimension with this whole new penguin city? Like, are there a bunch of penguins living in this city? Like, are they gonna be in danger? Like, no. This is not a real city. Like, all the buildings here are props. This is just some dimension that Protobot renovated to look like the Shadow Guy and Gamma Gal play, just to sort of tie into the theme that had already been going on with the case. And speaking of that theme, we see Protobot actually put on a Squidzoid costume. And yes, I did put him in this costume because it has to do with the theme of Shadow Guy and Gamma Gal. But it was not the main reason I put Protobot in this costume. The main reason I put Protobot in this costume is because I fucking hate drawing him. And I knew animating him would be even harder. The main reason he's so difficult to draw is just because, like, of all these different parts he's got going on. Like, his arm is like 4 parts alone. It's got, like, the speaker, the inner tube, the actual arm, which is, both of these are, stupidly complicated for just being arms. And then he's got, like, the actual claws on him. It's just ridiculous. Excuse me, I was yawning as I was explaining how awful it is to draw Protobot, because it's just that boring and tedious. But really, like, it's just the worst. And one of the other problems is just that he's got so many different colors and, like, shades of all these different colors on his body that I was just like, no, just simplify it. He's just got these 2 squid arms, and he's just this one, like, bluish turquoisey color. It just made that, it was really like the arms. Getting rid of the arms was just a huge help. Another thing is, like, if you go back, I went too far back. Let me just use the frame by frame here. If you see, he has, like, these little gears or cogs that sort of, like, connect his 2 claws together on his arms. But in the actual Squidzoid costume, that is not visible. So I sort of have it like it's covered up by the sleeves, even though it's really not. Like, you could definitely tell, like it should still be poking out there, but it's still just, it was really annoying to draw, and I just did not want to draw it anymore. So I just decided, no, his arms are just squid arm, and then the 2 little claws poking out. That's his arm. So putting Protobot in the Squidzoid costume was not really, like, it didn't have, like, I didn't need to do that for, like, the theming or the story or anything. It was really just to make myself have an easier time with this execution. Another thing I want to talk about this sort of backdrop here before we move on is the fact that this pond area is here next to the tower. I think it was important because, like, a lot of like this city landscape could sort of end up looking the same. It was important to me to sort of, like, set the area, like, where the penguins are about to be crushed. It was important for me for that to sort of be recognizable, like, throughout all the scene changes. So I put, like, this little pond and park. I think it's like a park, like, in the actual stage set. But I put that there just to sort of show like that's where it happens. So when you see like that sort of green coming out, like you know, on like the pavement or whatever the ground is, like that's where the scene is happening. So just like for continuity's sake, that is why that area is there. Why am I not? I'm hitting space. Why is the video not playing? I don't know. I like this shot of Sam a lot. It's just a good picture of Sam. Just a good pose. It's a good Sam pose of him just thinking. And he's like, oh man, I just remembered. I have powers. That's cool. I don't know. It's one of those cartoony things where it's just like, well, there's an obvious solution here, but like, oh, it takes them a while to think of it. And this animation was cool of him actually going into shadow mode. You can see the sort of opacity is lowering there. You can actually see through him as he shifts. Another thing about this background is you can actually see the monitor, the box, sort of like the box computer screen. I don't know. I at one point during the series, I just decided I need to show them like videos throughout the trial at some point. So like, fuck it. There's just a box that Protobot can make appear that has a screen on it. I don't know how it works. It's just a cool. It's just a cool little visual. But you know, that's sort of there to sort of set up that like the other survivors who will come back to the box dimension later, they will be watching the fight later when they actually get back here. So you can just sort of see now that the city background is visible there. You can't really see it because it's a bit blurry, but it's enough to make you look like, oh, there's like some sort of screen or something there in the background. And then we actually have Sam leave the thing. And remember how I was talking about like when Protobot was going through the portal and I was doing like the little ripple effect of him actually going through it. I actually did do all of it for Sam with these little dots. Because that's sort of, I mean, that's like how it looks like in the comic book when he goes into shadow mode and stuff. It's got like these little black dots that sort of surround his body. And it just looks really cool and unique, and I wanted to sort of try to capture that the best I could with my own drawing abilities. But you can see it actually sort of does completely go through. And it looks kind of fine, like when you just kind of go through it slowly. But in practice, like when you actually watch it, it's a little rough to actually watch. I'm not super happy with how it came out, but I mean, it's only on screen for like a second, so oh well. We also have him actually flying through the portal here. I think this was the first time that I confirmed that Sam and Amy can fly. I had said they had superpowers before, obviously in this trial, but I didn't exactly go over all of their abilities, and one of those abilities includes flight. So you know, this might have been a surprise. Like, hey, Sam can fly now that he's got his powers back. And again with the ripples, I actually did do all of it here, and I don't think it looks the best here either. Yeah, it's a bit awkward and choppy, but it's whatever. I guess it's better than actually fading. Though I don't know, maybe it would have been better to just do the fade, but I don't know. I just like this shot of Sam just kind of meowing into the portal to save everyone. And I of course reused the same background, the same background of the portal that Protobot went in before. So of course I have to make Sam very tiny going into the portal because Protobot is obviously very big, so it would look weird if he just like was you know, not small going through this, just for, you know, continuity and sake and scaling and whatnot. This shot was ridiculous to figure out. First of all, there was a lot of like back and forth about like how I was going to have Protobot actually kill the penguins. I had known that I wanted him to like knock a building over to do it for the longest time. That was always the plan. But as time went on, I was like, that's kind of stupid. Like that's really dumb. But like I had already done some foreshadowing to it, so I kind of wanted to stick with what I had. So I was trying to think of ways like how can he use this building to kill the penguins. And I sort of like always thought of him just using it to smush them. But when it came to actually like storyboarding and figuring it out, it was like, this is weird and doesn't make much sense. So like one thing I considered doing was having Protobot like sort of like climb the tower, like sort of King Kong style, and he would like be holding all the penguins. He'd like stuff each of them into a different window, and then he push the tower over with them inside. But I think like my problem with that was like, if they're inside the building, they're sort of protected a little bit. Like, you know, obviously they'd still, you know, get hurt very badly, and still possibly die, but, you know, if they're in, like, a building like that, they have a bit more protection around them, so it just would be a bit weird. So I was like, no, the best thing to do is probably just to have them be on the ground and have him try to, like, push the building over and just completely, like, smush them with it. So the problem was, in order to do that, I had to restrain them somehow, because if they weren't restrained, like, there's no logical reason for, like, why they wouldn't be trying to escape. So figuring out how to actually, like, restrain them from moving and being able to escape was pretty hard. I considered, like, tying them up, but that was really hard, because, like, how do I tie the Puffles up, too? And also, like, if they're just tied up with rope and stuff, like, that like, they could break through that easily. So the best thing that I decided was to put them all in cuffs, and have all their cuffs, like, linked to each other. But even that was, like, a little too much. Like, if they're, like, these penguins are good at, like, cooperating with and working together with each other. Like, they would still, like, figure out how to, like, move with that. So I needed to make them, like, they cannot move. So I have, like, they have, like, these sort of, like, ankle cuffs as well, that are, like, chained to an anvil, so, like, they are really, like, stuck to the ground here, and the Puffles are, like, all chained up around the anvil in a circle. So, like, again, this is, like, another shot that's only on screen for, like, 2 seconds, but, like, so many hours of planning and drawing went into figuring out how to get this to look right. A detail that I really love about this is that Amy is actually flying, and, like, trying to, like, save everyone, because, like, she's trying to, like, she sees that she's, you know, she's obviously chained to everyone, so she's gonna try to, like, fly away and, like, carry everyone to safety. Obviously, the anvils are making that a bit of a problem, and she's ultimately not really going much of anywhere there. But it was just sort of important to me that, like, Amy is trying really hard to not even just save herself, but she's trying to save everyone else too. Like before the execution in the CG of them all in Protobot's head, like, she is, like, kicking the glass of Protobot and, like, punching it and trying to get out desperately. Like, she's not doing that for herself, she's doing that for everyone else. And I don't know if that detail is very apparent, but, like, that was something that was important for me to try to show in these scenes. And then we have Sam here. I wanted to have a shot of him, like, just flying out of the portal and, like, looking around the city to try to find them. It didn't make much sense, like, when I actually came to, like, designing the city, because the portal is, like, right in front of where they're getting crushed, so it wouldn't take him too long to figure out where they are. But this was another. This is an example of, like, the sort of the importance of, like, the park area that I was talking about earlier. You know, you can sort of see the shadow of the building, and then you can sort of see this grassy area down here in this corner, just to sort of show, like, Sam is, like, behind everyone else right now, but he's in that area. And also Sam himself here, his cape. I really like the effect that I managed to do for his cape. Again, in the Shadow Guy and Gamma Gal comic book, Sam, when he, like, absorbs shadows, and, like, you know, when he does his shadow mode in that, he's got this really awesome effect to him, and I tried my best to replicate that, and I think it looks really cool here. So here he is absorbing the shadows of the building, and you can actually see the shadow of the building actually gets lighter as he's doing this, because he is, like, actually stealing the shadow to it, and adding it to himself. So that's a nice little detail. Also, like, the shadows that are like coming up from the ground, those are getting darker as he grows, just to sort of, again show like he's stealing the shadow. That's what he's doing. Protobot just tips this over. I don't have much to say about that. It's just he's tipping the building over. This part, in the other shot, let me see if I can go back. Yeah, that's actually perfect. The shadow is obviously a lot darker here. And because of that, it looks a bit more shaded to it, and it looks like more like an actual complete drawing. But because like Sam had like he'd stolen the shadow to it essentially, it was much later here, and it looks a bit awkward in comparison. And it was really hard to figure out how this would work, because like one of the greatest ways to like show impending doom and danger and whatnot is just with shadows. Like something's about to fall and crush you. You have like this giant ominous shadow like looming over the characters, like, and then before you cut and save them or whatever, just to show that sort of danger. But I had essentially gotten rid of the shadow to give it to Sam, so it was a bit weird. So like the shadow is still there, it's just very, very slightly visible. And then we cut, and then Sam is there, and then they look, and they're like, just there's no animation there. It's just one frame their eyes are closed, the second they're open again. I wanted to have JPG and Amy's heads turn here, but it was a bit complicated because at this point, like, I had sort of like the line art for this was all on one layer, so it would have been difficult to actually change that, and then I'd have to do the colors again as well. It wouldn't have been that hard, but just because I was already spending so much time in this execution, it was like, maybe not worth it. So there's Sam. Protobot's laughing, and he's like, what is going on there? And then we got this shot of Sam holding the building, and a couple people realized this, but I actually foreshadowed this way back in, well, not way back, it was only a chapter ago, but time-wise, it was a really long time ago. I foreshadowed this back in chapter 4, where Sam saves Klutzy from the falling crate at the stage. The pose of him holding this is the exact same as he's holding the crate there, and that wasn't me. Like, I wasn't calling back to that with this. I planned this exact scene a long time ago. So the way Sam was holding the box in chapter 4 was actually foreshadowing to this. Get it? Foreshadowing, because it was in chapter 4, and he's Shadow Guy. Huh? That's really funny. Yeah. So this shot, I think in the storyboard, I had like Protobot like charging. He was like charging at Sam, like running towards him, but it didn't really make sense because like he's already pretty close to him, and like the building's in the way, so like there's no room for him to really run. Another thing that I wanted to do, and this wasn't in the storyboard because I sort of realized that it would be a lot of work. I was originally going to have Protobot charge at Sam, as he's holding the building here, to try to stop him. And then Sam was gonna he was gonna pick up the building and just carry it effortlessly, and then he'd sort of like swing it around like a baseball bat, and he'd get into like a batter position, be like, batter up, and then he like fucking like whacks Protobot with it and just like shoots him off into the stars like a baseball, just to get him out of the way. But I was like, that is a lot of work, just for this one scene, to just get Protobot out of the way for like a couple seconds. And a much easier solution to that is to just flatten Protobot with the building, just to do like the reverse Uno, just squash him with the building instead. You got the smear frame there, and then the squash and stretch to actually bring it up. It's funny. I enjoy it. I like how before this he's standing completely upright. And he's like this big metal monster, like he should have like a bit of fight to him, as he's getting squished by this, but like no, he's just immediately like underneath it. It's funny, I enjoy it. Yeah. This shot, this is another sort of example of me using fade effects to sort of cheat at animation, because you see the background is like fading. I wanted to like sort of have, it actually like pan up, like actually fluid animation, but that was hard and would take a while. So I just did this instead. And another thing that's kind of it's kind of funny to me, is the fact that the penguins can actually like hold on to Sam's flipper here, even though he's just shadows at this point. I guess sort of like my headcanon for how it works is like Sam sort of has control over like which parts of his body, like, he can phase through things, and he can like actually hold on to things. I mean, obviously like his feet must like be like standing on the ground, like they're not phasing through the ground at all times. So like, and obviously he's holding on to a building before, so like obviously he can hold things in this state if he needs to, but he can also travel through things if he needs to as well. So that's the explanation for that. I love this shot of all the tiny penguins just sort of standing there. It's very funny. And I'm once again cheating here. I wanted to animate them all jumping into the portal, but I was like, holy shit, this is taking so much time. Just do the fade and put the ripple there, just to show that they're all going through it. And it's like, it doesn't look the best. Like, it's not the best use of fade, and just like, it's better for like 1 to 2 like different frames, just to sort of show a slight change. This is like, it's happening all the time, so it doesn't look the best. But hey, I did what I had to do. Also in the storyboard for this, I believe Amy is on the right side of Sam, as she was just watching him get them all through the portal again. But I needed to have her be on the left side because Sam is going to push her through the portal, so like she needed to be between Sam and the portal, so I couldn't really have her be on the right side of him. It wouldn't make sense later. And she's sort of looking up at him like, yeah, like this is our chance, like let's fight together and beat Protobot. And Sam just sort of realizes like he's like, oh man, this shot kills me. you know, not many things in my own story make me that emotional anymore, especially like after I've written it. Once I sort of like conceive the idea of something like that, that has a lot of emotion to it. Usually, once I've like written it and like proofread it 1,000 times and like edited it a bunch of times, it's like at this point I just want this shit to be done, man. Like I'm devoid of emotion as of going through most of this. But this always got me of Sam just looking at Amy like he sort of knows he's not going to probably make it out of this alive, but he wants Amy to go back through the portal. And that sort of brings me to something else that I want to talk about this shot specifically. Something that I consider doing. This was before the storyboard, obviously, because it wasn't in the storyboard. So there's a couple other ideas that I had for this execution that didn't even make it to the storyboard. And one of those was like I wanted to sort of have a conversation between Sam and Amy here, as they were looking at each other. And that's sort of unusual because normally there's no dialogue in any of the executions. So I thought it would be kind of weird if I had the text box come up now like that. That might feel a little strange. So another like workaround to that was like, okay, I'm doing the comic book thing later, and I'll have more to say about that when we actually get to it. But I was like, what if I have like dialogue, like speech bubbles come up, to show like what they're saying to each other. But I just couldn't make it to work, and it would have taken a lot of time. Time for both me to do and time like of the execution. Like it would have kind of thrown a wrench into the pacing of it a bit. But I wanted to have a conversation of them sort of talking, just a very brief conversation of Sam like saying, it would. I mean, I never wrote like an exact script of how I would want this to go, and it's been a while since I've thought about it. So, This might not be exactly what I was thinking of, but sort of what I was trying to do. It would have been a scene sort of like, you know, Sam is like, well, actually, it probably would have been Amy to start with, like Sam, like, you can't beat him without me. Like, we need to work together if we want to beat him. And Sam would just sort of be like, yeah, but like even if we do, like, he's still very powerful. Like, I don't even know if the two of us working together could beat him. And then Amy's like, yeah, but like, what other choice do we have? And Sam's like, the choice we have is that one of us needs to stay behind and protect the others in case this goes wrong. And that someone has to be you, Amy. You have to go back and watch over them and make sure they're safe. And Amy, you know, would have been like, no, you go back. Like, I'll fight Protobot. And then, you know, like, as Sam is like about to push her through the portal, he's like, thanks for the offer, Amy, but like, I started this battle. Let me finish it. Go protect the others. So I really wanted that just because, like, the implication here is yes, Sam is protecting Amy, but also Sam knows that Amy is very capable and strong, and like she can defend herself very well. So he also pushes her through the portal, not just to protect her, but also to protect the other penguins, because, you know, he's pretty sure he's gonna die here. So like, he wants to leave another hero with the survivors, because he cares about Amy a lot, and he probably cares about her more than the survivors, but he also still really cares about the survivors, and he doesn't want them to be in danger either. So like, the bigger reasoning here is that Sam pushed Amy through the portal because he wants the other penguins to be safe as well, and they need Amy for that. And this whole thing, man, I don't know, it gets me. Amy just looking up very confidently at him. Sam's like turning away, he's not quite ready to look at her yet, and he turns just with those big ol' eyes. He's got a frown, he's like, I'm not gonna make it. Then he smiles, like knowing that Amy can keep everyone safe, and then he pushes her through, and it's just, whew, man. Also, those ripple effects on the portal, I did all those, I drew all those lines. How does that one actually look in motion? Also, the little like tilt, of Amy doing there. She's got a different pose there. Might not have noticed, but I sure spent time drawing that. Yeah, it still looks kind of weird, the ripple thing. I don't know if I'll ever get good at that. I don't even know if I'm gonna do it again. I guess we'll find out. Ooh, that's a nice shot. I like this shot of Amy sort of landing after Sam pushes her through, and Agent sort of coming to her aid, like, are you okay? It was really hard. I didn't want to have Amy like fall out of the portal and like tumble out like she was in pain or something. Like that would look kind of bad on Sam's part if he like pushed her through and then she's just like, ah, fuck, and then she just fucking falls. That would just look weird. So I just kind of started it from here, like as she's like getting up. Go back to that. I'm not done talking about this. So you may notice that only Agent and Dot are in this frame. I wanted to have JPG and Rookie here as well, just to have all of them. But like, again, time. It's like I didn't want to draw all of them when that shot is only on screen for like not even 2 seconds. So I just had Agent and Dot. I had Agent helping Amy up, and Dot is sort of looking away at something. That sort of implies that she's looking at the actual monitor that is showing the fight happen, like the what's going on in the city, because the Penguins are obviously still worried about what's going to happen to Sam now. Also, we have Chirp and Blast here as the only Puffles on screen, because those were Sam and Amy's Puffle partners. So I thought it would be cool to have them be there. And Sam looking at the portal, like, unsure if he's doing the right thing. Sad that that was probably the last time he's gonna see Amy. But then he quickly just turns around. And he's getting down to business. Like he's got a robot to fight. Protobot lifting this building up. This was a cheat as well, because he was completely flattened underneath it. And I was gonna try to animate him getting up from the bottom of it. But I just sort of cheated and had this frame start with him already lifting the building up, and then he just the building just fucking flies completely vertically up, I don't know where it goes. I don't know where it lands after this. It might have gone to space. I don't know, but it's funny. Yeah, Sam looking real angry. I like this this little animation here of Sam kind of like puffing his shoulders up, like squaring up to fight this guy. It's a little janky, but I mean, I think it works. I like that a lot. We got this sort of zoom out shot here of the guys. I don't know, the thought of just like having a giant fight in the city between this giant robot and this giant shadow penguin man, I just thought it was cool as shit. And I was like, yep, that's how Chapter 5's gonna end, with the fucking kaiju battle. So that's what we go. So we got them charging at each other, just like that, and they sort of zoom into each other like that. That animation is if you go back and watch the test bot fight with Shadow Guy and Gemigel versus the test bots, they sort of like charge at each other like this as well, in a very similar style. So that was sort of, one, just me reusing techniques, but also like a subtle parallel to something that had already happened. And then we cut to comic book style. And like Protobot being in the Squidzoid outfit, this was, sure, it made thematic sense, but it was 100% an animation cheat. Because I knew I was gonna have this really intense fight scene between them, and I was like, oh man, like, the comic book idea was something that I thought of very, very late, like probably like, I don't know, maybe like in February, like about a month or so before I actually started to work on the execution. Before that, when I had this execution in my head, I had always imagined, like, yeah, I'm gonna fully animate the fight. It's an intense fight. Like, we've got these two kaijus, like, fucking going at it with each other. Like, I want to draw that. Like, that's gonna be so cool. But, as the sort of time to work on it approached, I was like, oh my god, that is going to take so long if I actually do it like that. So I thought of, like, okay, this is it's Shadow Guy and Gemigel. I have established the comic book already before. I've used the comic book style already in this chapter. So it makes thematic sense to have them actually use the, be shown in the comic book style for this execution, and it'll make it a heck of a lot easier on me to actually draw. And honestly, the biggest help with that is just the fact that, like, these are very, like, rough, like, pencil, like, line arts here. Like, a lot of the other line art is, like, it's very, like, it's very refined, and, it's not very jagged at all, whereas this is very, like, it's very, like, sloppy, but it's got sort of a cool charm to it as well. Just using that sort of style for the line art sped up the drawing process tremendously. Like, this section was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was 100% done this way, just to, like, speed up the actual production process, because if I had tried to animate all of these fight scenes, like, this execution would have taken, like, I don't even know if it would be out now. It just would have taken so much longer. So I'm very glad the execution that I decided to have a fight scene in was the one that, like, has superheroes in it, because it's like, this is, like, the only execution that I could get away with doing a cheat like this. Like, it just would not have made, like, actual, like, in-universe sense for any other execution, for any other character. I mean, it still doesn't make in-universe sense, because it's like, what are we looking at here? Like, is this a real comic book that exists? Is this just, like, did Rookie, like, make this comic book, like, after the events? Like, what are we looking at here? I mean, that's a cute headcanon if that's what you want to think. Like, Rookie drew this comic book to, like, remember Sam, or, like, to honor him, to honor his battle. Like, that's a cute, if that's what you want to think of. go for it. I wouldn't say that's true. I'd say it's just a stylistic choice to make my life easier. Everything in this fight happened. This punch was cool. Got the punch. I think sort of like the onomatopoeia of like all the attacks really sort of like justifies it a lot more. Like with all like the crazy colors and the lines in the background, like the action stuff. It just sort of made it feel like, yeah, okay, you can get away with this little comic book animation sheet. It's it might not be as impressive as like an actual full blown animation, but it certainly is still pretty cool. I wanted to sort of alternate attacks with these two to sort of have like, we start with Sam, getting like the punch on Monobert, and not Monobert. Well, it is Monobert technically, but it's Protobot. And then Protobot gets a punch on Sam. So just to sort of like alternate between like who's winning this fight was sort of how I wanted to go about it. So Protobot gets a little uppercut there on Sam. And we got this where Sam jumps up and starts just kicking Protobot with his feet. This move was sort of like I guess sort of like the best way I could describe it is like Peach has a move in Smash where she it's like her down air where she like shuffles her feet like really quickly when she attacks. That's sort of like what I was going for here with this attack, where Sam's just sort of like tapping his feet on Protobot's head repeatedly over and over again, and it's just, I don't know, I thought it was funny. I wanted to animate this because some of these like have some bits of animation to them, but not a whole lot. This was one I wanted to sort of actually move his feet up and down, but it was like, not really worth it. This is a good one. This is a really good one. This is an obvious reference to, well, maybe it's not obvious, but this was a reference to Captain Underpants, the Flip-O-Ramas in those books. Very, very specifically, the one from the Professor Poopy Pants book, which probably sounds really weird if you've never read Captain Underpants. But like in Professor Poopy Pants, the Professor Poopy Pants book, there's a Flip-O-Rama where like, well, first of all, like the plot of that book is like Professor Poopy Pants like shrinks the school and all the kids in the school, and then they like reverse his shrink ray or something. It's been a while since I've read it, but like they reverse it and they make Captain Underpants grow, so like he can now fight Poopy Pants, who's got like this giant robot that he's piloting. And one of the Flip-O-Ramas is like the giant robot punching like the giant Captain Underpants in the face. And I was just like we've got this giant robot here fighting a giant superhero. It's just the perfect thing to reference here. So Sam's face here, that's like the exact face that Captain Underpants is making. As Protobot's like holding him by the cape, Professor Poopy Pants is holding Captain Underpants by the cape. He just sort of bonks him like that, and that's the exact pose that Captain Underpants makes as well. It's got the stars coming out of it. I'm pretty sure that's in the book as well. So yeah, that was just like the perfect reference to do for this. I read Captain Underpants a lot when I was a kid, probably around the same time that I was really into Club Penguin as well. Those were definitely like two of my big interests as a child. So if younger me could see that I could, one day combine those together somehow in this one little gag, I think younger me would be very happy to see this. Also, that animation is just funny. Just like bop 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 bop. It's just good. We got the laser eyes. The lasers has been sort of a common attack associated with all the robots now, and I think this was the first time that I'd actually shown Protobot using that. And also it sort of sets up the laser eyes for after the execution. So that was that. Sam, of course, blocks it with his cape, like he did in the Testbot fight against, gosh, I can't even remember my own thing. I think it was Snowbot he was fighting, where he blocked the laser with his cape. And that's just a reference to Mario from Smash, where he swings his cape out and he sort of reflects a bunch of projectiles and stuff. This part, I obviously had to use Sam's Shadow Wave power at some point to try to get him to, use the powers I had already established for him. So he throws the Shadow Wave, at Protobot, and I just thought it would be funny because like these two phases are like they're sort of like avoiding each other's attacks. So Sam sort of gets the one up here, gets the one up on him here by actually dodging this laser, and Protobot gets like the win here by like actually dodging the Shadow Wave, even though this probably wouldn't have done much to him. And I thought it'd just be funny to have him dodge it by eating it. I thought that was funny. In the storyboard, I had Protobot burp after he ate it, just because I thought that would be a funny gag. But again, it was like, it would only be on screen for like half a second, and it's just like one more drawing that I have to do for this part that's like ultimately really unnecessary, so I decided to cut it. But also, this chomp text here, the colors on that are orange and purple, and that is a reference to the orange puffles, because they are, they're notoriously hungry and they like to eat pretty much anything in sight. So we got the orange of the orange puffle and the purple of their tongues. So that was a slight little reference there. That was, just kind of silly. Then we go to the Card-Jitsu fight. I thought it would be cool to have them, use fucking Card-Jitsus to fight, because that's like one of the main forms of battling in Club Penguin, so it made sense to reference that. And there was an actual Shadogan Gamagel power card in Card-Jitsu, so I thought it would be cool for Sam to have that. It's got Squidzoid on it, so just in case the reference with Squidzoid was missed by someone who doesn't exactly know who Squidzoid is, you can sort of see the connection there. Yeah, I just thought it would be cool that like Sam has this card on him at all times, because he's a fucking nerd. And I was thinking about what card should Protobot have, and I was looking at like the wiki and seeing like the list of fire cards and fire power cards and whatnot, and nothing really fit. There was like a Protobot card. I think there's like a card that has like all the test bots and Protobot on it. I can't remember what element it is. It might be fire. I might be a complete fool and it might be fire. But for some reason I thought it was like also snow, and it was like a lower number than the Shadow Guy and Gamagel card, or it was water or something. For some reason it either like it didn't work for the actual matchup, because I needed Protobot to sort of win this fight. So like it either didn't work for the matchup, or I just thought of this idea instead, and I thought it was better. And that that was to just have him have a card that has like all of the stuff from all the other executions. We got the sort of sword from Sensei's execution, the red Robopuffle from Paige's execution. There's no real reason why I chose the red one, I think, over all the other colors. I think it's just because the reason that Paige decided to kill Rockhopper specifically was because of Yar. She wanted to save Yar, so I thought that would be kind of fitting to just make it be red. And then we got the train from Rory's execution, and we got the flamethrower from Agent's failed execution. The background of the card is the Danganronpa pink blood color, and the number of the card is 10K, because Ultimate Protobot 10,000. I just thought it would just be funny to be like, he's got this super ridiculously overpowered card that's just gonna absolutely destroy that, and that's a great Sam face. And I really like this shot of all the stuff like kind of flying at him, like the sword is flying towards him, the Puffle's like lunging at him, the train's coming, the flamethrower is on its way to just completely annihilate Sam here, and then it just sort of all culminates into this one explosion, and then there's nothing there, and then that's just a really good gag. I don't know, I always thought that was fun. That was funny, of Sam just like, you see this explosion, it goes by a little too fast, so like the comedy might have been lost. The timing on it is not the best it could be, but I was sort of pressed for time here because I was going off the duration of the song, so I wanted to sort of all match up. But like, the joke there is, if it goes by too fast for you to actually catch it, is that Sam is standing in the way of all this stuff coming at him, but he quickly, like, he goes into, he actually uses his shadow mode to, like, hide underneath the ground. He, like, goes through the ground, So then the explosion happens, and it looks like there's nothing there, like Sam just got like obliterated, and then he sort of just pokes his head up, like, is it safe to come out now? I always thought it was just the funniest gag, and it always cracked me up when I was watching the storyboards and actually drawing it. And then from here on out, we just get completely ridiculous with this. So here they've got these inner tubes on and are charging at each other. This is a reference to Sumo Smash, which is a mini game from Club Penguin Game Day, which is essentially that mini game is essentially like bumper balls from Mario Party, except you've got these like inner tubes on you, and you've got to bounce into other players to try to knock them off. And one of the things you can do in that game is you can charge up and then just like ram into somebody, and when you do it, you sort of like leave behind this trail of fire, so that's why that's there. So that was sort of the joke with this scene was Sam was like charging up and to just run into Protobot here, even though this shot just like he is not, like, his head is not hitting Protobot here at all. It just looked really weird otherwise. So also that's a great Protobot face right there. I like how before he's just kind of like what's going on? Where'd he go? And he's like, like he just got completely caught off guard there. It was funny to me. I just thought it was funny. This is the dumbest one of them just playing Mancala. This originally was gonna be them like playing checkers or chess or something like that. And this was like back before. This was a joke I had in mind for this execution, like before I even decided that I would be doing the comic book thing. Was just I wanted there to be a point like during all this fighting, like you just cut to them randomly playing like a game of checkers or something. And then Sam like sort of just looks at the board and just sort of like realizes like, wait, this is stupid. Why are we playing checkers? And then he just like grabs the checkerboard and just like whacks Protobot in the head with it. I just thought that would be super funny. But eventually I sort of realized like, wait, why am I doing like checkers or chess or something like that? Like I haven't, like there's literally like these board games in Club Penguin, Mancala and Find 4, and I haven't really referenced them that much in the series. I had referenced Find 4 in Chapter 4 a little bit, where Rookie and JPG are investigating the Lodge attic, and Rookie's like, there's nothing here, like, can't we just play Find 4? But I hadn't really referenced Mancala yet, I don't think. So I was like, this is a good opportunity to mention Mancala, because Mancala was a pretty iconic part of Club Penguin, and I hadn't really gotten a chance to reference it yet. So this seemed like a good idea, and I still intended to do like that same joke of Sam like looking at the Mancala. I think actually the thing itself is just called a Mancala. So he just looks at the Mancala and he's like, wait, this is stupid. Why are we playing this? And he picks it up and like just he just smacks Protobot with it. So I thought that would have been funny. But I also thought it would be much funnier and much easier to actually draw. With just to have them like actually play Mancala and to have Protobot like win. I just thought like Sam being like genuinely in shock and distress over Protobot winning at Mancala was fucking hilarious. So I wanted to do it. Also, if you look at the actual Mancala itself, it should be pretty accurate. I hadn't played Mancala in a while. I got very distracted while I was working on this. I went onto like these free Mancala websites just to like refresh myself on the rules because I hadn't played them. I hadn't played Mancala like since the early days of Club Penguin, to be honest. Like I barely played it at all like when I actually came back to the game in like 2017. So like I had completely forgotten how to play Mancala. So I like spent like an hour like just playing it by myself like a fucking dweeb, just fucking like trying to remember the rules just so I could like try to make it like an accurate depiction of the game here. So basically what Protobot is doing here is like he's putting his piece in the one hole there that's like opposite of Sam's hole, which means he captures all of the pebbles in that hole, and he gets them all, and that makes him like win essentially. And I also thought it was funny to have have like the onomatopoeia, like action comic booky thing. Like the text just be like Mancala, like it's just stupid. And that sort of brings me to something that is not really related to this execution, but it just has something to do with Penguinronpa in general that I've sort of wanted to talk about for a while, and that is, you might look at these scenes and be like, well, this feels a little too silly. Like this is like one of the most tense and important, serious moments of like the entire series so far, and it's got all these silly moments in it. Like it just, you might feel like it sort of takes away a bit from like the impact of how important this scene is, and I sort of get that. But like something that I think is very important to keep in mind with Penguinronpa is that Penguinronpa has always been very silly. It has always had these sort of absurd, jokey moments like Buff Rookie and Pizza Dot and all this weird stuff. So like to me, the sort of silliness and seriousness of Penguinronpa sort of go hand in hand with each other. They both complement each other fairly well, and I think they are both just equally as important to each other, like to the series' identity as a whole. And I just sort of worry that some people, who are watching the series might take it a little bit too seriously. And like there are certain parts that you can take seriously, but like not that seriously, because like at the end of the day, this is just a silly penguin story, and they do a lot of silly penguin things, like playing Mancala during like a death battle. The thrill of the tension and the absurdity of the jokes are both just a fun, entertaining experience, and that's what it's supposed to be. I'm trying to make people smile and have a good time. That's my goal with the story. So yeah, that's all I want to say about that. So let's go on here to the final portion of this comic book segment, which Sam picks up a tower and Protobot picks up a tower, and they have a sword fight with towers. Now I don't watch a lot of superhero movies. I know it's sort of like a trope to have like big superhero fights in the city and whatnot. But I haven't actually watched a lot of superhero movies myself, so I don't know if any movie or anything at any point has like done this gag where it's like these two like giant heroes and monsters, whatever, like pick up two towers and like use them as swords to like fight each other. I don't know if any other story has done that. If not, I'm just saying, Hollywood, if you want to use this idea, you can send me a check in the mail, because I think this is a fucking hilarious concept, and just a very fitting thing to do with like a kaiju fight in the city. It's just so ridiculous, and it's like they're just slamming buildings into each other, like, this was also like why I wanted to make sure like I put like this is a fake city, no one lives here, because like if there were actual people in these buildings, that would be a little concerning, but like there's no one in there. They're just smashing these buildings around just completely stupidly, and then we cut back to the actual style. We see Amy worriedly watching the fight go on, and I just reused the background there, and she turns around. Let's look at that in-between frame. Look at that! Wow, isn't that a great in-between frame? She turns around to look. She throws her plasma glow wave in the portal. Again, me using sort of fade effects to actually show movement. A little bit of a cheat again. And then the plasma glow wave comes towards Sam. I don't know how it gets this big, because obviously that came from Amy, who is much smaller than Sam at this point. So obviously, like her powers should probably be smaller too. But like by the time it actually gets to Sam, it's big. I don't know. It just works. So their powers combine, and they form a lightning bolt here to actually zap Protobot. We got him falling over here. Got a wonderful smear frame there, just Just very good. Just, I don't know. I don't know if I do smear frames correctly. I just do it and hope it works. I just sort of just stretch them out and just have a bunch of repeated stuff there. And that's how you smear frame. Just have a bunch of stretchy lines, and it just works, I guess. And then we do that, and then you see Sam grab Protobot's head here, which doesn't really work because like Sam is like, he's obviously like in front of Protobot here, to actually like shoot him with the lightning bolt. And I guess he just like circles back behind him off screen here. I don't know. It was worth it for the gag here, where Sam spins him around, which is very obviously a reference to Mario 64, where Mario picks up Bowser and spins him around by the tail before, you know, throwing him at the spike bomb things. So long, gay Protobot. Throw him. It just fucking explodes. Another thing this was sort of inspired by, that I sort of realized after I had made it, is well, it's a bit of a spoiler for Gravity Falls, but in the final episode of Gravity Falls, they have a fight sequence with these giant monsters. You know what I'm talking about, and it sort of ends with them doing a similar move to like the Mario 64 move, with them throwing this one monster into the background. It just sort of explodes off in the distance, and that's sort of what I was going for here as well. And here he's just sort of like, did I do it? Is it over? And I really like this shot. I like this shot a lot. Of not really the building itself. The building's a little rough, but sort of like the chunks around it, and like the broken, you know, like the messed up Squidzoid costume and all the fire. I think it looks really awesome. But yeah, and the other guy gets up again. So Protobot gets up here. It was important to me to finish this fight with Protobot's actual design, because like, you know, obviously the way Protobot kills Sam is a little like completely unexpected and like very violent in albeit sort of an oddly non-violent way, but like still it's very like surprising and like, holy shit, did he actually just do that? So like I wanted to have him have like his actual like threatening appearance and not some dopey squid outfit. So yeah, Sam is of course pissed that Protobot's not yet dead. So he charges towards him again. We got the JoJo pose. I have never watched an episode of JoJo in my life. I don't know fucking anything about JoJo. I just know the pose is a meme, and I was like, this is the perfect opportunity to reference that. So we'll do the little JoJo walk. It was hard to do. It was hard to translate that sort of pose into these characters who don't really have legs, especially Sam, because like, you know, he doesn't have legs to really walk with, or, you know, I've got to use these sort of very strange flippers proportion, or not flippers, these webbed feet proportions that aren't even really that webbed. Yeah, so we got that. I don't know, I thought it was silly. And then we zoom into Protobot's face to sort of show that we're about to see things from his perspective. It's kind of a janky zoom. I could have done a bit better with it. But hey, you only see it for like half a second, so it is what it is. We got the participants screen here. You know, we had seen this before throughout the chapter before, so it wasn't like you were seeing something like a completely new or different idea than something that you haven't seen before, that you would be totally confused about, like, what are we looking at here? Like, you had seen this scene, this sort of setup of this scene before, and as you know, you see Agent at the bottom there too, even though the rest of them are in alphabetical order. And that was something that was, you know, it was actually talked about. They actually mentioned it when they were first looking at the files on the computer in Chapter 5, Daily Life. By the way, there's no reason for that. Like, there's no, like, lore reason as to why Agent's file is like, not in alphabetical order. Like, it's not like their true name is after S or something like that. No, I just needed a way to sort of, like, have Agent be a little suspicious, or like to the others, because at that point they hadn't known about Agent's mysterious unknown identity. because that was before the pizza parlor scene. So I was like, okay, I'll just have it be at the end and also be locked, and that'll be how I sort of show that. So there's no point theorizing about why Agent... I mean, you can... Obviously, there's, like, reasons for why Agent is, like, mysterious and whatnot, but, like, as for why the file is there in non-alphabetical order, I don't fucking know. It just doesn't make sense at all. But I just wanted to keep it consistent. And it also really works for this scene, because if it was in true alphabetical order, Shadow Guy's folder would be last. So you would see it sort of disappear, but I felt that, like, oops, it's not the frame-by-frame key that I want. That is, comma and period. If you didn't know how I've been doing the frame-by-frame, because apparently a lot of people don't actually know this, you can go, if you're on desktop at least, you can go frame-by-frame in YouTube videos, with that by just clicking those two buttons on the keyboard, and it's quite helpful. But yeah, I thought it would just sort of be, like, really apparent that Sam's folder was actually gone here if, like, when it's removed and then, like, Agent's folder gets moved up, of course, because Sam's folder is now gone. So I thought that would sort of help a bit as well. You also see the number go down there from 6 to 5, which I thought was cool. And this shot of, this scene, this exact, like, frame and shot, like, the way this is sort of set up here, this had been in my head for so long. Like, pretty much immediately after I decided the way that Sam was going to die, you know, it looked exactly like this in my head. Like, him just charging at Protobot, like, exactly like in this pose. And then he sort of just gets stopped, and he just sort of has this look of panic on his face, and then he just starts to disappear. I'm not entirely pleased with how this animation looks. It's not as good as I would have liked it to be. This was the last thing I did for the execution. I worked on everything after this part, before I started to do this, because I wanted to give myself, like, as much time as I needed to make this like animation effect look really good, and, like, you can see like his body, like, actually get, like, torn apart here. It's a little like very scary to actually think about how it actually feels. But yeah, like, you see his arm there, like, you know, his arm is obviously, like, you know, drawing wise, because it's a 2D drawing, like, it was hard to sort of make that disappear because it's, like, stacked over top of his body, but I sort of, like, just kept, like, removing the bits of line art, just bit by bit, until he was essentially just, you know, not much left. And then the sort of end of this here, where, like, all of these just sort of rise up, I don't know, it doesn't look that good. Like, you can just sort of tell that I'm just, like, reusing all of the little bits there and just having it, like, just move upwards slightly. I don't know. I think it would have looked a little bit better if I had actually, like, made them all unique little squares and pixels and whatnot. But I was getting very tired of drawing little squares. So I just made it a little bit easier on myself. But I think the beginning portion of that it still looks really good. But, like, the end, it's sort of I don't know, I feel like I sort of squandered the ending. I feel like I sort of squandered the ending a bit there. I originally, you'll notice there's no sound effects in this execution at all, and that was one just because I was running out of time. Sound effects are typically the last thing that I add to animations like these if they need them. I don't always use them, but occasionally I do. So at this point, you know, all the other animation had been done. I was like, do I really need to go back and add like punching sound effects for, like, the punch scene and whatnot? I was like, no, like, I kind of just enjoyed, like, just having the music in the background. So I decided to not do any sound effects. But a while ago, I don't even remember when I made this. I'd have to look at the date of the file, assuming I still have it on my computer. I think I do. I think I came across it recently, but I made a sound effect a long time ago that I sort of imagined would play here as Sam disappears. But ultimately, I decided to not have any sound effects, so I ended up not using it, and I thought it made it a little more, chilling that way. Plus, I hadn't really thought about that sound effect while I was working on this. I kind of only remembered that I had it like after I finished it, so it would be kind of hard to actually sync up that sound effect to this because I don't think they really match up. But yeah, and then this shot of Protobot looking just like at what he's done. This wasn't in the storyboard of his like eyes or his pupils moving upward. I just thought it would be like a really like scary thing to just be like he's just looking up at Sam disappearing into the sky, and he's just just staring very ominously at it. In the sort of the teaser trailer thing that I released for this execution in the Discord server, I had one of the bits of the trailer was Protobot's pupils here like moving down instead of up, and I just thought that was a little more scary for like the purposes of the trailer, that it was just like he's looking at you, the viewer, like some shit's about to go down here. I don't know. I thought it was funny. And then we got the group shot of everyone watching. I reused, well actually I didn't reuse it because before it was Squidzoid's, the back of Squidzoid's, the Squidzoid costume's head, and Sam standing there. But I actually have to actually make, well no, I did reuse that Protobot head because it's the same Protobot head that you see in that shot. And I also reused the background. So actually, yeah, everything in this background is reused from an older scene. But yeah, we got everyone else watching here, all the puffles in the back. They cannot fucking see the screen. I don't know who I'm fooling with that. They can't see the screen from down there. They got all the penguins in the way. I had to show them. If they were in front of the penguins, then you wouldn't see them. You'd see like 2 of them, but you wouldn't see anyone else. So yeah. And then this final shot of Amy here. In the storyboard, you might have seen that Dot and Agent were actually like on either side of her, and I think that that is how they are here. Actually, no, Rookie is on the other side of Amy, not Agent. But yeah, I originally had Agent and Dot also looking at the screen, in shock as well. I originally wanted to have all 5 penguins, like you'd see all their faces looking at the screen in shock, but I was like, it's a little too much work and I really want to focus on Amy. So I just sort of zoomed in on her, and obviously like you would see sort of, Agent and Dot, or whoever was on either side of her as well. You'd see their reactions as well, but I thought, one, I'm almost done with his execution and I just want to finish it. Let's just do Amy. Let's just sort of focus on her reaction, because hers is the most important to see, that she is like really angry and also just completely distraught. And also, speaking of the teaser that I released for this execution, this was part of it. This still of Amy reacting to Sam's death was part of the teaser. Originally, Amy in the teaser, it was this, where she turns around like that. But I changed that at the very last second because I was like, wait, like, you see her in the box dimension there, so it's like, that sort of, like, could imply that, like, Amy's not in the box dimension anymore, and, she's, like, not part of the execution. I thought people might pick up on that, and that might be a little too much. So then I changed it to this still, to this shot of Amy here, with one difference, and that was that I removed her tears, in the teaser. I thought if Amy was shown crying here in the teaser, that would sort of give away that Sam dies. And I could not do that, so I just removed the tears. So yeah, that's the Chapter 5 execution. I have been recording for almost 2 hours now. I don't know how long this will be when I actually go to edit it. So I'm sorry I've been rambling a lot about this execution, but I had a lot to say about it, and I hope you found it interesting to know what the process was like. This execution was very hard to make, but I'm very proud of the finished product. I would say, objectively, it's probably the best execution so far. And honestly, with what I know of what's gonna happen, I feel like it is still probably gonna be the best. It's just got a lot of action to it. Yeah, I think objectively it is probably the best. But as far as like my personal, opinions are, I have a hard time calling it my favorite. And it's for a dumb, petty reason. It's really just because of the fact that it was so hard to make. Like I really cannot watch this execution and actually just like watch it and like enjoy the animation that happens in it, because I don't know, pretty much every time I go to watch it, all I can really think about is how hard and difficult that 1 month was to actually put this all together, because it was very hard, and I had almost considered just like canning it entirely, like just ending the story there. Like, yes, that was a real thought that crossed my mind, and luckily I was able to talk myself out of it fairly quickly. But like, this execution was so hard, and I was making so little progress on it just every day, that I was like, oh my god, like, is it even worth going through all this trouble? Should I just move on and do something else with my life? But no, I was able to talk myself out of it, and I pushed through it, and I got it done. And that's just something that I kind of want to raise a little awareness to, in case, anyone out there is inspired and wants to make their own sort of Penguinronpa story, and their own sort of animations and executions and whatnot. Please do it. I believe in you, and I believe anyone can tell a good story if they have the passion. But also, you should know that before you get into this stuff, you gotta be prepared to commit to him, because this stuff is really hard, and it can be really hard and emotionally taxing. But it can be very worth it, and this was very worth it. I think a lot of people really enjoyed how this execution played out, and I am still, of course, very proud of it, so I'm very happy that I actually did push through and got it done. It just took a long time to actually get there, and it took a lot out of me physically and emotionally to actually get this done. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about this execution. If you enjoyed me rambling about, all these little intricate details and my thought process of how I put this execution together, and you'd like to see it for the other executions, or just for the entire story of Penguinronpa in general, let me know, and I will gladly do that at some point. Probably not anytime soon. I'm probably going to be focusing on actually, making the last chapter. But maybe after it eventually ends, whenever that is, probably like a year from now. I don't know. Whenever that is, I'd be happy to go back and explain some other of my thought processes as well, because, well, there's a lot of thought that goes into this stuff, much more than you may realize. But yeah, that's about it. Penguinronpa Chapter 6. I'm working on it, I promise, but it's still gonna take a long time. I'm trying to make it real good. And in the meantime, I might put out some other non-Penguinronpa videos on my channel as well, so, like, that might happen. And if it does happen, please don't comment asking about where Penguinronpa is, because I've already told you. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for the support, and I hope you enjoyed. I'm gonna end this video, I think, by showing the storyboard again, this time comparing it to the final execution side by side. So you can go ahead and watch that, and I'll leave you with that. That's gonna be it for me, though. Goodbye, take care of yourself, and waddle on.